Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze and welcome to a spicy opinions video. One that was spicier than I was expecting, actually. I didn't think we would get too many responses to this, but we did. Seems like people have got opinions on this one. And honestly, I think this is going to be one of the most difficult videos I ever do because I don't really feel like I'm fully educated on this topic. I feel like there's so much to talk about and there's so many different aspects. It's not easy. This is not easy, right? And what I mean by that is that with Saudi Arabia, there are human rights concerns. And we can have a look at some of those concerns because I've got this article here, right? This is from Amnesty International, and they actually list like the 10 big kind of Saudi Arabia concerns here, 10 ways Saudi Arabia violates human rights, right? So we've got executions on the increase. They're the second highest for the death penalty. There was 196 people that were terminated, executed in 2022, right? And that ain't that long ago, in all fairness. We're not talking like 2010 or anything. We're talking literally a few years ago, right? This is the one that I find really concerning, though, is that women and girls remain subject to discrimination in law and in practice. The male guardianship system was enshrined into law in 2022, again, not that long ago. And it means that women must have a male legal guardian. They cannot choose who this is. Also, many women, such as this person, supported a campaign against a ban on women's drivers, and they were imprisoned and harassed as a result. Now, that law did change, and they are allowing women to drive again, but still, you know, having to go through some horrific stuff over what would seem like a very basic right. The right to be allowed to drive, you know. Unfair trials and torture during detention, migrant workers being treated poorly, a crackdown on free media and press, no free speech, no LGBTQI plus rights, travel bans. So just saying about people that have been released from unfair imprisonment, they face continued punishment because many people are then given a travel ban, which doesn't let them leave the country, which means they still can't see their loved ones. Forced evictions, they don't allow protests. As we said, lots of concerns. But the reason why I started this video by saying I don't feel very educated on this is because you could also make a list for the UK. It wouldn't be the same points, but there's obviously going to be concerns, yeah, when it comes to the UK. You could make the same for the United States, human rights concerns, right? Again, it wouldn't be the exact same list, but you could, there are concerns. Every country's got issues that they're facing, right? Things they're working through. I don't think anyone would say their country is perfect. You know, it's not like we've managed to get rid of sexism and racism and all these kinds of things. Like, they're still around. There's still issues. They're still being worked through. Right. So I sort of look at this and I'm like, well, yes, I do see that Saudi Arabia is maybe more on the extreme side of that scale. But we have seen some movement as well. If you think the women, they weren't allowed to wrestle, but now they're allowed to wrestle. So, and they weren't allowed to drive. They are now allowed to drive. So we are seeing some movement in that society as well. I think this is a real difficult one. I mean, for me, I think that we spoke about all of this back in, 2018, when Saudi Arabia first got this contract. And I think at that point we had some pretty big conversations about it. And then really since then, the conversations have dried up as time has gone by. Obviously, pandemic came and that took up a lot of conversation. Instead, we weren't able to go as a result. And then like we went back and started going back over. We've seen some improvements. I do find it interesting that it's now that there's been all this noise around Saudi Arabia again, and it seems to be because of the show that they've been given. It's not so much that people have got these concerns. It's more to do with the fact they just don't want them to have the Royal Rumble. That's kind of how it feels, because I don't see this noise when we're doing Crown Jewel, and I don't see this noise when we're doing King and Queen of the Ring. But there is all this noise at the moment because they've been given the Royal Rumble in 2026. So, again, I don't know. For me, I don't mind going. Hopefully we can contribute to the changes. We can help bring in changes like we have with women now being allowed to wrestle. Hopefully there's other sports, other things that can now use that as an example to kind of get some movement in their sports, right? Get more women involved and onto big stages in front of big crowds that maybe couldn't have happened before. So I don't mind going and trying to help move things forward and contribute. So that's okay. But I would rather just do it once a year. I would rather go. I understand WWE are looking to get money, right? That's the only reason we're doing this, right? We're not stupid. They're not going because they're trying to make a difference. They're going because they're getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars. Like, this contract is a big contract that they've got with Saudi Arabia. So I think go, but ideally just go once a year. Just go once a year. And then that means that we can do the other shows in like Europe and South America and Australia and Japan. And obviously a fair few times in America and Canada. And I mean, next year, 2026, we could be going for the Royal Rumble, King and Queen of the Ring, and Crown Jewel. 3 of the 12 PLEs might end up being in Saudi Arabia. And I really don't want that to be the case personally. So I know the human rights thing is a major conversation and probably the biggest conversation, but just the volume of shows that they're getting is a concern for me. So yeah, that's my take on it. I don't really have genuinely anything else to add than that. But I'm very interested to see what you lot have got to say. So Red Razor said, I'm kind of torn. It's great that WWE is getting around the world, but on the other hand, I'm not sure that this is the right event. SummerSlam or Survivor Series might have been a better fit. I'd be interested to know why not Royal Rumble. I mean, I know it's an event that people like to attend. I know it's an event that's very special because of the entrances. So, but there's only, 16,000 people that tend to go. Or is it a bit bigger now? It might be like 30,000. So, I don't know. How many people were actually going to attend, in our community? Probably 1 or 2, 3, 4, something like that. The rest of us were going to watch on TV. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind them having the Rumble. I don't know. This is going to be really interesting as to why the crowd were booing and so passionately booing. If I was to boo, it would be because of the amount of shows they were getting. That would be what I would be frustrated by. But I don't think that's the same frustration other people have got. And as I said, when it comes to the human rights stuff, we've been aware of that since they had this contract. So why would we be especially upset now? Brady said, I don't like it because the women will be miserable in the bodysuits. Liv Morgan said that after Elimination Chamber 2022, she could pick up sweat and fling it off her finger. That's how hot it is in the bodysuits. I mean, that's a cultural thing, though, isn't it? That is, I don't know if it's a religious thing, but the women covering up is obviously, a cultural thing. It's very much part of their society. So I don't know that you'll ever get any movement on that. And that's not only going to be Saudi Arabia. So when you're dealing with the Middle East, that is a obstacle that you are potentially going to face. The only thing I would say is, would it be better if it was all indoors with air conditioning? And then maybe that way the women wouldn't be dripping with sweat as much. Maybe that's something that should be taken into consideration. Because heat-wise and humidity, with those kind of bodysuits, I could imagine being very uncomfortable. So, interesting. Food for thought. Matta said, thank you, Saudi Arabia. They do own Newcastle. Brendan wants to see the Royal Rumble at Canada. Duke's Wrestling said, I personally have never been a fan of the Saudi shows, but this deal does do so much for WWE in terms of money. I've come to accept the fact that this would happen, and I'm expecting them to get a WrestleMania very soon. Do you know, it's funny you should talk about that, because when we went over for, I don't know, Crown Jewel or something, the crowd on the kickoff show were chanting for WrestleMania, and I think Triple H got a bit annoyed because I think they've been trying to avoid giving them one of these shows, because these shows are very popular. Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam. You can actually sell out like decent sized venues in America with these shows. Like, I can't remember the most recent attendances for the Royal Rumble, but they have been doing like more baseball grounds for that. And for SummerSlam, we've been getting like decent crowds. And obviously WrestleMania is WrestleMania. I mean, they get bids coming in for WrestleMania where, you know, they get like tax breaks and they get paid loads of money. So those events have always made WWE like money and big ticket sales. So I feel like they've been trying to avoid giving Saudi those shows for those reasons. And instead, they've given them Crown Jewel, which never existed before. It's their own PLE. And obviously, they've just tried to make as big a deal out of that as possible. So the fact they've been trying to make a big deal out of Crown Jewel, right? Super Showdown, King and Queen of the Ring, and yet the fans are still chanting and demanding WrestleMania. You can kind of understand why Triple H would be like, oh, God, shut up. Don't want you to have WrestleMania. I want you to be happy with what you've got so that we can sell WrestleMania somewhere else, thank you. I wonder if like they will end up getting it. I mean, WrestleMania is the crown jewel, isn't it? It is the big show. It is the massive show in the year. So you can understand why they want it, or the fans at least would want it. Las Vegas, Matt said, almost every PLE last year was outside of the US. Everyone deserves a shot at having a PLE. Unsure if having a Rumble there is a good idea, but I'm sure they will make it spectacular, says Las Vegas, Matt. Ethan said they just need to stop the Saudi shows. It's a PR nightmare at times. For example, the incident with the news reporter in 2019. WWE still went through with the show anyway, and it wasn't a good look for anyone. Casey said, honestly, I have issues with it because my feelings towards the governing body in particular and their own crimes against humanity. If not for that, I would have no issues. Crown Jewel isn't any different. I wish WWE understood that instead of being money hungry. They are very money hungry. Chanel said, I personally think this is an awful idea. I can't stand these shows and I normally give them a miss. Matthew said, on the one hand, I like to see a daytime afternoon Royal Rumble. And on the other hand, will they stop doing the Women's Rumble? And no, I don't think they wouldn't stop doing the Women's Rumble, but the women would be covered, as Brady pointed out earlier. Uncle Revel said the crowds have got a lot better since those original shows of higher-ups sitting in recliners not giving a shiz about the show. That being said, I still don't think it's going to translate the same on TV as seasoned crowds of monumental events. I think it might be a bit of a test for WrestleMania. Wrestling fans since day one said sad that the women have to wear the bodysuits and nothing normal gear during the show, along with the female refs. I bet they feel uncomfortable. MD said, I haven't liked anything going to Saudi Arabia. There's too many human rights issues and the fact they were a part of 9/11. There are connections there, but again, I'm not too sure what those connections are. So I don't want to be going down roads of 9/11, right? Of course, but okay. I Am the Colour Red said, good news that a Big 4 PLE will be outside the US and have a good start time in the UK, but I've never been a fan of the Saudi shows because of those human rights violations. Doesn't sit right, but money talks. Chalky White said, I am actually so against it. I am considering not watching it, which would be the first Rumble I've never watched live. Wow. Ken said, I'm fine with it. People are not their governments. I don't totally agree with mine, even when my side wins. Fans in Saudi are just like us, though I would argue they need some escapism more than we do. We should stop focusing on what divides us and celebrate that something as simple as wrestling can bring us together. I'm certain there are fireflies in Saudi too. Why punish them for the sins of their government? Mustache said, from a business perspective, I can't blame WWE for doing it based on what they are probably getting money-wise. But personally, I hate it. I wish more wrestlers would take the stand that CM Punk did and refuse to go. I wonder if he refuses to go. I mean, I don't think he's ever actually refused to go because he wasn't able to go, was he? Because he wasn't cleared. I'm trying to think if he was back when we did, was it Crown Jewel? I don't know that he was back from injury, to be honest. I don't know. That's an interesting one. I mean, he wasn't cleared for King and Queen of the Ring. So the only one he would have refused would have been Crown Jewel. And I'm just trying to remember if I read or heard of him refusing to go. And I don't think I did. So you'll have to let me know if you've read something on that. Brandon says, and actually a lot of people are wondering, will he refuse to go to the 2026 Royal Rumble? That's going to be interesting. Brandon said, big nope. The YouTube video advert when I last seen had likes and 15,000 dislikes. There's plenty of better places overseas to take a big four. I fear this leads to other big events going there, and with the money made, it will be chosen over more deserving locations. My Phenomenal Figures said it should have been in London. Saudi's crowds are never that good. I feel like the Royal Rumble will feel wired in Saudi Arabia, mostly because the Rumble is normally in America. London would have been a better fit. The fans of Europe deserve the Rumble. Do you know what? A Rumble in Europe would have been, I agree. I mean, we could still get it. It's only 1 year. I don't think they're getting it every year. If they announced that Saudi Arabia was going to be the permanent home for the Royal Rumble, I would understand the backlash then. But we're only talking the 2024 event at the moment. Vetric said, outside of the surprise returns, funny moments, wrestlers people are familiar with, and the obvious countdown chant, the crowd is mostly dead quiet in the US for the Rumble, especially with wrestlers they don't know or lame theme songs. In my opinion, people are overreacting without thinking first. Chris says, hello, Daze. Hello, Chris. I thought maybe it meant the Crown Jewel title junk would be done, but they never said the Rumble was replacing that. And we all know it's just a money grab. I'm so sick of hearing WWE say you boomers gave us more money than any other boomers have before, and we'll go to Saudi. Yeah, it is true that kind of we broke the gates and all that kind of stuff. It is a weird brag. They keep doing it, and I don't see a big backlash against them doing it, but it is weird. Them basically saying we've charged you, and you've paid it, a lot more than we've charged anyone ever before. And we sit there going, yay, well done. Ratchet said, I think Saudi Arabia should meet halfway and at least allow short-sleeved attire for the women. I don't think that's asking too much. It is. Other than that, it's the Rumble. It will be watched. I think they should start using Omos to win Nigerian Giant. The reason I say it is because, like, covering up is, as we said, you know, a real cultural, religious thing, and like that, you can't just go like meet me halfway kind of conversation, you know. So getting the women on the show was a big thing. I really, there's a lot of issues when it comes to Saudi Arabia, and I've got to be honest with you. I think the women covering up and like wearing those bodysuits, I think is pretty low down the priority list when it comes to other concerns that people have, you know. Although not in this chat by the looks of it, it's been mentioned several times already. Brian said, give it to a country where the fans will truly appreciate it. Saudi shows have become a chore to watch. Women will be fully covered. Shameful money grab by WWE. Sam said, I just feel absolutely awful for the women who enter early in the match. Having to perform in bodysuits for an hour is ridiculous. Should have come to the UK instead. Manuel said, every single woman in the match is going to come out to no pop, and it's going to be sad. That's not true. They watch WWE and they see the women, like, they have cheered them in previous matches. They're aware of them. It's just they weren't allowing the women to perform live in front of the crowds. This is a spit in the face to all the women that bust their asses to come to the Rumble and have no pop. I don't agree with that. I don't think, if you look at like women's matches before, it's not like the crowd have just sat there and there's not been any reaction. Ryan said, it's a bad idea from WWE. I'm against it. I might not watch the event. I hope they don't renew the deal with Saudi. MK said, it's an unfortunate reminder that the fans will always be second to profit. Preach. Nothing against the people of Saudi, but it's just proof that sports washing is alive and strong. AJ said, I'm not feeling it personally because I feel bad for the women. They have to perform in the body. It's the bodysuits, isn't it? I'm stunned. It doesn't seem to be the human rights violations that this community is bothered by. We're not worried about the fact that there's no protests allowed or free speech or journalists are getting killed for reporting the truth or executions, death penalty is the second highest. All this time, no, it's the fact that women have to wear bodysuits and the crowd won't fully appreciate. I don't know where this crowd won't truly appreciate them fingers come from. I really don't know. Have I watched a different show where the crowds have been quiet during the women's matches? Because I've seen the women getting really good reactions, like decent reactions. Watson said, don't they have enough show as it is? I know we're still a long way from it, but I can just see all the surprises getting ruined as they'll be seen travelling over. It's interesting. Leo said it doesn't matter whether it's in Saudi or any place in the world, it'll be the same product and the same quality. And if you just hate that because women will be covered, it's just a matter of respecting rules. Do you want to see their bodies or their performance? Just enjoy the show, says Leo. Deadman Talking said, should be a great show. I am sure WrestleMania will be there soon. I wonder if Punk will go or if he'll take those shows off, ? T4H Dart said, I think it's all right. It's just going to feel weird watching the Rumble at 1 p.m. Eastern since I'm in the US and the 30 women will wear different jumpsuits. So it should be good. Daze, keep up the good work on YouTube. Always enjoy your content, especially Unseens. T4H, thank you. Great One said, I am against exporting major PLEs outside the USA. It's a slap to the country that WWE is based in. I think they're a global brand now, but I mean, like, they've sold their product around the world. They've managed to attract fans from around the world, and those fans now want the opportunity to see live shows and PLEs. And I think WWE have been pretty resistant to take in PLEs around the globe under Vince. But under TKO, we're seeing a lot more movement because I think TKO thinks more global than they do, just United States. So I think we're just going to be seeing more and more kind of international events. I think America will always get the lion's share, but yeah, I mean, it's undeniable, isn't it? I mean, there's rumors of them going to Mexico now, and taking Backlash there. We know that London has had serious conversations for WrestleMania. WWE won't want that Saudi deal to expire. We've been to Australia a few times. Most notably, was it just last year with Elimination Chamber? So it feels like that ain't going anywhere. Sam said, Daze, OG Sam here, said WWE have a deal for dub shows a year. I don't agree with things in Saudi, but their people deserve 2 shows a year. Does anyone deserve 2 PLEs a year? You could maybe say America. But I personally have no problem with it because it will start at noon. Bob said, I think it's good that a major PLE is taking place outside of North America, but I question why it's Saudi. Oh, money. Money. Fair enough, they get paid a lot of money, and the contract will be up for renewal soon, but it's not a good signal to fans who question those human rights records. Money over fans. Listen, money over fans might as well be their new flipping slogan. All the sponsors slapped on the ring mats, Prime on there, Prime hydration stations, all this kind of stuff. So gate ticket prices going up, Money over fans. William said, I think it's great that a major 4 PLE is going to take place outside of the US and Canada. SummerSlam 92 was an all-time event. I have some concern that it might limit the surprises that we would see in a North American Rumble. I'm probably in the minority, but I have enjoyed the majority of Saudi shows. Briggsy says, I understand the backlash to it, but honestly, I don't mind it because it means the show will be on at a decent time in the UK. Jesse said, I'm not super keen on it. I feel like they could do it in Canada, the UK, or somewhere else. Henry said, Saudi is getting everything now. They've ruined football. They're taking the World Cup. They're ruining wrestling. They took the Rumble, so the UK WrestleMania is not coming to the UK in 2026 because they can't really have WrestleMania outside the US and the Rumble, said Henry. Sin City said it's terrible. Male Tail Thong said blood money, just like all the WWE events in Saudi Arabia. WrestleBuzz said, I live in the States, so I've been blessed with shows and favourable times for these shows my whole life. Granted, I might not agree with how the country is run in certain aspects, but I think all fans outside the US deserve PLEs, especially a Big Four. Master Taker said, I'm not against it. All the fans complain that the women have to cover up. How many of those complaining are pervs? Misty Lynn said, I'm torn. I like that the PLE's going international, however. I have concerns that we're not going to see the same level of surprise entrance and may not get a quality show. The Saudi PLEs genuinely don't do it for me. It feels like something always comes up short. Johnny said, absolutely hate it. Hashtag free the boobs and free the booty. Master Taker, we've actually just found one. We've just found one, but jokes aside, I think it sucks for all the stars involved. They have to walk a tightrope, do they? To not offend any ancient religious norms. And we know the repercussions can be serious if something happens there. Batman said they always hate WWE shows in Saudi Arabia, but not anywhere else. They use the excuses like, why do women wear bodysuits? Well, it's their culture. You have to respect it. Honestly, I think there's a little bit of racism in this topic. Tracy says it's dumb. The anime nerd said, this is how I feel. You feel we are at this level, but we need to get to this level. What does that mean? How does that relate to how do you feel about Saudi Arabia getting the Royal Rumble? Thank you. Mola Chris said, I say if it's outside the US, then it should be somewhere that the fans truly deserve. UK ? Giving the Saudis their own PLE, Championship, and now Rumble seems like what it is. A cash grab. The WWE Universe stands against that, and the country morally as well. Missy said, honestly, it's not even on my mind because we just entered 2025 and we haven't even got to this year's Rumble yet. Esmeralda said, I'm a bit sad for the women wrestlers who plan design in advance what their outfits will look like at the Rumble, but can't wear it due to the country's rules, traditions. But they can plan something else, can't they? They can plan a bodysuit now. I wonder if they know in advance that the Royal Rumble 2026 was going to be on Saudi before it was announced. Don't know. Gary said, I'm not in the USA, so it makes no difference to me. Only USA-based fans should have an issue if anyone actually does. Nathan said, WWE is prioritizing money over the quality of the show. The Saudi shows are a chore to watch, especially with the restrictions on the women's attire. It's all about money, not the fans. I'm hoping EO will win the Royal Rumble, says Nathan. Walter said, business head, yes, it's huge. WWE lifetime fan from Europe, and a lot of Saudis probably never even watched it back then. I'm annoyed that the UK or Europe didn't get it. Where's our loyalty rewarded? Robin said, I hate it. Money talks. Desperate for the Saudi deal to continue. Sucks for the women. Bad crowds. Hopefully no Royal Rumble spot will be taken by a random Saudi comedian. Oh, that is true, actually. Or something. CJ is fine, Crown Jewel, but Royal Rumble is too big of a show to be held there. I'm afraid of WrestleMania heading there soon. Take care, Daze. And you, Robin. Big Bam said, my thoughts are this. WWE goes where the money goes. If the businessmen in Saudi are willing to pay large sums of money, they will get whatever they want, hence a crown jewel title belt. No matter what we think, we must remember, ultimately, WWE is in business to make money. Ralph, we're going to end on Ralph. He said, that's really cool. Then I can watch the Rumble at prime time. If you have problems with Saudi Arabia, the US is responsible for so many wars and assassinations, and they still have torture prisons. Why don't you have any problems with wrestling in the USA? ? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I said we were going to end with Ralph. We're definitely going to end with Ralph, because if we keep going, there might be riots going on, right? So there we go. A very spicy topic. I knew it would be, but I hope that it made you think, yeah? You might not have agreed with everything you heard, but hopefully it made you think, reconsider your position. Perhaps it confirmed your position. So thanks a lot for watching and joining. Not a topic I was expecting to do, but one that definitely had very passionate feedback. So interesting. We'll see what we can think up for tomorrow. I've had a few topics sent over, so I'll take a look at those. I'm sure we'll have another opinions video for you on the way. Thank you for the support. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.